My first day at the community college art department had finally arrived. I stood before my new classroom door, a hopeful smile on my face. This was it, my chance to bring modern digital art to new students. I felt a mix of excitement and a little nervousness. I was ready for this new adventure. In the hallway, I met Stanley Harrison, the traditional art teacher. I offered him a friendly wave. He gave me a brief, dismissive nod, his face showing no warmth. Then he quickly disappeared into his studio. I felt awkward and a bit tense after that. It wasn't the welcome I had hoped for. Inside my classroom, I started setting up everything with energy. I connected my modern tablets and projectors. The room, clean and bright, quickly filled with the hum of technology. I was determined to show the exciting possibilities of digital art. This space would be a hub of creativity. I felt ready to inspire my future students.
Later in the hallway, something caught my eye. An old paint-splattered studio easel stood between our two classroom doors. Its dark wood was stained with countless colors of old paint. I touched the textured wood curiously. It felt like a piece of history connecting us. Miss Albright, our department head, welcomed me warmly. She had a sharp, professional look. "Virginia," she said, "we're thrilled to have you." She then mentioned Stanley, explaining, "Mr. Harrison is a master of classical techniques. You could truly learn from him." I nodded, feeling encouraged, but also a little surprised by her suggestion. During a staff meeting, Miss Albright announced the annual faculty art exhibition. This year, she proposed, we'll have a collaborative piece. Stanley Harrison, sitting across the table, scoffed quietly. I felt a sudden pressure. A collaborative piece with him? This could be challenging, given our first meeting.
I decided to approach Stanley after the meeting. "About the collaboration," I began, trying to sound friendly. He cut me off. "Pixels lack the soul of real paint," he stated gruffly. He dismissed all my ideas about blending digital and traditional art. His words were discouraging, and I felt a wave of disappointment. Back in my classroom, I worked on a digital landscape on my tablet. Despite my efforts, the composition felt flat and lifeless. I sighed, frustrated that I couldn't capture the depth I wanted. My ambition for this piece felt stuck. It seemed to lack that certain something. I just couldn't make it work. Suddenly, Stanley Harrison walked past my open door. He paused, his eyes landing on my tablet screen. "Your horizon line is too centered," he said gruffly, pointing. "It's dull." Then, without another word, he continued walking down the hall. His unexpected comment left me completely surprised. I stared at my tablets, then at the open door. Hesitantly, I followed his advice and adjusted the horizon line. Immediately, the composition improved. The landscape gained depth and interest. I looked toward his door again, surprised and thoughtful. Perhaps there was more to learn from him than I had imagined. Later that week, I saw Stanley in his studio. He was hunched over a large sketch pad, his brow furrowed. He looked quite annoyed, struggling to sketch the complex perspective of an old building. He kept erasing lines, sighing loudly. I could see his frustration clearly. Although he was a master with paint, perspective drawing was proving difficult for him. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to approach him. Cautiously, I brought my tablet to his doorway. "Mr. Harrison," I began, my voice soft, "I think this might help." I showed him a simple program on my tablet. It could generate perfect perspective grids instantly. I hoped he would see its potential. Stanley watched the tablet screen, his initial skepticism slowly turning into genuine interest. He leaned closer, his eyes sharp. "How does it adjust for different vanishing points?" he asked, his voice gruff but curious. Then,
Can it handle a three-point perspective? His questions were intelligent, showing his deep understanding of art, even if the technology was new. I felt a flicker of hope. After our discussion, Stanley surprisingly agreed to attempt the collaboration. It felt like a small victory. Together, we moved the old studio easel. Its dark wood was stained with countless colors, telling stories of years of art. We carefully placed it in the center of Stanley's room. It was now a shared workspace, a bridge between our worlds. A new chapter had begun. The next few weeks were a blur of creative energy. A montage showed us working together seamlessly. Stanley painted a richly detailed forest scene on the canvas. While he worked, I created subtle animations on my tablet. We shared ideas, discussing light and shadow. He taught me about brushwork, and I showed him digital layering. Our processes merged, and we learned so much from each other. Finally, the day of the exhibition arrived. We were both anxious and excited. We carefully set up our finished collaborative artwork. The painted canvas, a twilight forest, rested on the studio easel. A small projector was positioned discreetly, aimed directly at it. We double-checked everything, our hearts pounding with anticipation. This was it. A crowd gathered around our piece, murmuring expectantly. Ms. Albright stood nearby, watching us with an encouraging smile. Taking a deep breath, I turned on the projector. Suddenly, a soft, animated light filtered through the painted trees on the canvas. Subtle fireflies glowed and faded, and moonlight shimmered. The effect was truly magical. The audience was visibly impressed. Gasps and quiet murmurs of appreciation filled the air. People pointed, their faces alight with wonder. Ms. Albright walked over to us, her eyes sparkling. She gave both Stanley and me a proud, approving smile. "An innovative and successful piece," she whispered. We had done it. As the crowd continued to admire our work, Stanley turned to me. He placed a hand gently on my shoulder. It was a rare gesture from him. He gave me a genuine smile, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Not bad for pixels," he said warmly, his voice softer than I had ever heard it. It was a clear sign of his newfound respect, and it warmed my heart. Later that week, I saw Stanley again, but this time it was different. We were in the campus cafeteria sharing coffee. He was sketching ideas on a napkin, and I was adding my own digital doodles. Our friendship had solidified, bridging the gap between traditional and digital art. It was a peaceful moment, a quiet understanding between two artists. The Brushstroke Bridge was complete. Es momento de la trivia. Te haré dos preguntas sobre la historia que acabas de escuchar. Piensa bien las respuestas y déjalas en los comentarios. Pregunta número 1. ¿Qué objeto antiguo y manchado de pintura se encontraba entre las puertas de los estudios de Virginia y Stanley? Tómate tu tiempo para pensar. Pregunta número 2. ¿Cuál fue el resultado directo de que Virginia le mostrara a Stanley el programa de cuadrículas de perspectiva? Esas son las dos preguntas de nuestra trivia. No olvides dejar tus respuestas en los comentarios. Me encanta leer lo que piensan sobre las historias.
Si te gustó el video, pon me gusta, suscríbete y activa la campanita para ver más historias.